Hi folks, we are Sophie and Philippe, two professional chefs and regenerative farmers. Currently we're setting up our second regenerative farm in central Portugal, where we grow food for our local community and share our knowledge both on the land and in the kitchen. On this channel we take you along on the farm's development and we show you how we grow, cook and preserve nutrient-dense, regeneratively grown, delicious food. In a time where the food we're eating is literally killing us, the most powerful and impactful action one could take is to consume nutrient-dense, regeneratively grown, clean food. Let's grow it, let's cook it, let's do it. Hi folks and welcome back to the channel. Last week's episode was all about cheese making, and this week we got into a little more cheese making using the rennet method, which is the coagulant that you use for raw milk. It was also a great success, but more on that another time. In this episode we are going to get you guys up to speed on what's been happening on the farm in terms of progress, and even though we have a cripple aboard, we got quite a lot of stuff done. So I'm proud to show that to you guys, and we're also going to show you some stuff that we did in the kitchen. We preserved a lot of our cabbages, making a full-on sauerkraut, the old school style. So I'm excited to share that with you, and that and probably some more good stuff. Let's go. While I traveled to Italy with the kids a while back, of course Philippe was left here to take care of the farm alone, which wasn't easy since he just had been operated. But of course we weren't going to leave him there alone. So we got 3 guys, young men, one of them family, 2 of them local, to come help us out at the farm, which was a real blessing because 3 capable strong men and 1 person who can clearly instruct definitely gets a lot of work done. You can imagine that their help was quite essential, as Philippe could not get any heavy lifting done alone and big jobs were starting to pile up. So they started off by laying the foundation near our new workshop/cool cell area, this to cover the electrical pipes and the water.
So Lucas never did this. It's his first time doing this. And look how smooth it looks like. How smooth it is.
Smooth like butter, like a criminal.
Are you happy with it, Lucas?
Yeah.
For the first time?
For the first time, it's okay.
Not bad, I can tell you.
Bad.
I've had my first time and I tell you, it was not pretty as this one. Alright, good morning to you all. It's very early in the morning. Sun didn't come up yet, 6 o'clock. We're gonna do some wood chipping today. But before I start with the wood chipping, we're gonna try to crush all our biochar. A great tip from one of our viewers is try to put the biochar in the wood chipping machine. It sounds like a great idea. We're gonna try it out and see how fine it comes. And then, yeah, let's see. Maybe this is the future for our biochar crushing. Let's go do this.
The crushing of the biochar in the wood chipper was definitely a lot quicker, but did not yield us the same fine result as passing over it with the car like we did a while back. We decided to go ahead with this batch though anyway and mix it into our recently sieved compost to be added onto our garden beds. One thing we disliked was that a lot of the dust flew off, which are fine particles of carbon that would have preferably also ended up in the beds. Our garden is currently still looking very lush, and if you've been following us, you know that we grow no-dig, which means that we like to have wood chips in our paths. This means we have easy access to our garden beds, even in heavy rain events, and the added benefit that the predominantly bacterial presence in our garden beds is balanced out with a healthy network of fungal life under the paths. Of course, in order to sustain these wonderful and sturdy paths, we occasionally need to add on some more wood chips. So for that we need a reliable source of clean wood chips. Luckily for us, on the farm there are loads of mimosa trees growing, and since they are quite invasive, we cull the young trees every year. Those are exactly the ones we throw into the chipper and then pop onto the baths. In today's episode, we are going to process these white cabbages. So Philippe and I harvested a lot of our white cabbages, not all of them, but many of them. And what we're going to do now is we're going to make them tasty, we're going to make them last longer, and we're going to make something that is very healthy for us. Of course, we're talking about sauerkraut. On the left side, I have my weighed out cabbage. We ended up having 8 kilos. How much, Philippe?
275.
8 kilos, 275 grams. And now we are going to shred it. And also I'm going to weigh out 2% of that total weight, which comes to about 160 something. How much?
165.
165 grams of salt. So we're going to shred everything into thin slices into this big bowl. That's an advice I have for you. Use a bigger bowl because it's going to make it easier to mix in the salt later on. And then once all the shredded cabbage is in there, we're going to add the 165 grams of salt. Imagine if I would have had to do that by hand. So this is done now. I'm gonna take all of this to the dishes and then we're gonna weigh out the salt. Okay, so now the hard work begins. What I'm going to do is I'm going to massage this salt into this cabbage really fiercely, and I'm going to be doing two things doing that. First off, I'm going to extract all the moisture that is stored within the cabbage. That liquid is actually going to be used in the fermentation process to submerge the cabbage in order for no oxygen to come into this fermentation process. And then some really neat bacteria are going to take over. They're going to convert the sugars in this cabbage into lactic acid. That's what makes this very acidic. So there are 3 stages in the fermentation process of cabbage into sauerkraut. And the first stage is by the bacteria Leuconostoc mesenteroides. I'm not pronouncing that correctly probably, but that is the name. And they thrive in a saline, in a salty environment, and they will start to break down sugars in the cabbage. And as a byproduct, lactic acid will be created, creating this sour environment. Then Lactobacilli plantarium and brevis will come into play because they actually thrive in more sour environments. And they will create even more of that lactic acid, creating an even more sour environment. And then the final stage sets in where the Pentiococcus pentosaceus sets in, and this digests the ultimate remaining sugars within the ferment, stabilizing the whole and making it able to store on the shelf. All right, let's get this army of microbes working hard, and in order for that to happen, let's pound this cabbage. Ah!
Don't break the rubber.
She rises up. So yesterday, Philippe was making me very, very angry. Since beating her spouse is against the law and I might end up in jail, she decided that...
You're gonna make sauerkraut today.
I'm gonna make sauerkraut today. Right, Philippe?
Yes, baby. Pound that kraut.
Pound that kraut. I don't know if any German would take offense to that statement. Pound that kraut! Sorry, German viewers. Wir lieben dir! My German grammar isn't great. So I've pounded this for about 20 minutes or so, and the water has released really quite well. And now I'm left with a batch for which I'm going to be using the basic recipe. And for that, I'm going to add cloves, bay leaf, and black pepper, and that's it. Nice. We're going to fill this bag with some water, and then we're going to tie it close and put it on top so that the weight of this plastic bag is going to keep everything submerged. Alright, so now this is done. I have sterilized the inside of the walls again because I wanted to make sure everything is really nicely submerged. So with a little cloth and some ethylic alcohol, I just wiped down any edges that were dirty. I did the same thing around this border. Then I added a little bit of water, popped this lid on top, and now this puppy is ready to start fermenting. I'm going to check on it every now and then to make sure that no mold is forming and to make sure that everything stays nice and submerged. We'll check in on this in a couple of days. If you are looking to boost your microbiome, definitely either make it at home or buy it from the cooling section in your supermarket, because if it is in an aisle and it is not refrigerated, chances are that it has either been pasteurized, canned, or that preservatives have been added, and maybe even a combination of those things. Now, why is that a bad thing, you ask? If you're trying to boost that microbiome in your gut, it means that you want an alive product. And home ferments or wild ferments are exactly that. They are not pasteurized, no preservatives have been added, and they are not canned or cooked. This means that more microbial life is alive in your ferment, and so you are actually aiding to that diversity in your own gut and getting all those nutritional benefits. Furthermore, if you're canning your sauerkraut, you're actually destroying nutrients even further. So for an optimal vitamin C boost, get yourself some fresh sauerkraut. Let's go! Alright folks, and that was it for another episode. The full sauerkraut recipe is on our website, as are all our other recipes. And if you haven't subscribed to our newsletter yet, I highly recommend it. We have something in store that is coming out soon. Also, if you have any other suggestions or things that you would like to know about, don't hesitate to drop them in the comments below and vote on each other's comments, because we are compiling a list with requests and that is going to be inspiration for our next videos. I very much enjoyed making this content for you again. As always, see you next week, the Farming Chefs.